Hey, witchlings, how are we today? Ah, how is everybody? All right, so far no watchers yet, but we're getting there. See, I warned you, I don't have very many regular watchers and listeners, but there are a couple. Oh, let Jenny know that we're live. I have one spoony friend who catches the show as often as she can. She is an awesome friend. Podcast is live. Um, so I'll let her know. And there we go. We are actually doing pretty good today. I have coffee.
Always a plus.
Yeah, apparently I left it sitting on the warmer while I was gone today, so it's even still warm. So
Cool.
there are benefits. So
I,
how
I,
are
I
you?
pref- I'm doing good. I prefer my caffeine to be green and bubbly, but I get the need for caffeine, believe me.
Well, I started taking a weight loss med. It's Qsimia,
Okay.
and it's got Topamax and phentermine. And I'm not
Okay.
sure whether it's the which one of the two of them it is, but one of the two of them is making anything with carbonation in it taste absolutely disgusting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I have lost my Dr. Pepper, and I am sad.
Yeah.
My husband loves
Doctor.
Dr. Pepper, by the way. So he probably would
I
consider that a fate worse than death. That would be like cruel and
yes,
unusual torture to not be able to drink it anymore.
because Dr. Pepper was my favorite soda. Oh, and to lose my Dr. Pepper, I was so sad. Okay. Oh, hey, look, we have two people joining us now. I'm betting. Yep. All right. So,
Oh, did
hello,
my poll
everybody.
work? Awesome. Hi.
Yes. So, as the hubby says, it took COVID to break his Dr. Pepper addiction. He drank just as much soda, if not more, than I did at times. Yeah, I can't do this with both earbuds in. I gotta be able to hear something. So, we have the lovely Cat joining us today, and our very special guest, Jared. Yay! Jared and I
Not
have
sure I'm
been
that special, but
online
hi,
friends.
everybody.
Yep. Jared and I have been online friends, as I keep saying, for most of Derek's life. Derek being my youngest child, who is 20 now, and that is very hard to believe. We met back on Bloop Diary. Good God. Which still
What?
exists.
Yeah, was it Bloop then?
It was Bloop.
Okay,
Yes.
I know a bunch of us actually started out on Open Diary, and then when people got upset with the Diary Mastery and Steve opened up Bloop, we moved over to Bloop. So I wasn't sure, when I met you exactly in that.
We met on Bloop. I had an Open Diary as well, but I didn't meet everybody until I went on to Bloop. And I met you and Marisa and Kapil. And Kapil has been mentioned on my podcast here and my daily draws a million times because I credit him with helping me, get through yoga teacher training with my Sanskrit and a few other things. And I joke that he's the reason that when I refer to my yoga nidra or my yoga classes, that I have to make sure to add the word asana to the end of it because, and you'll appreciate this. God, probably at least a month ago, I posted to Facebook that we were doing Yoga Nidra live on here that Friday night. And he caught that. And I had posted again later, afterwards saying, here I am, I'm back and blah, blah, blah. And he's, oh, you survived. And he was just, being Kapil.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And and Jenny, Jenny's a sweetheart, but Jenny does not know Kapil. And, she thought, he was just being an ass and did not realize that he is from India and that, you know, it has a completely different meaning over there than it does to us here in the West.
Yeah.
And so she thought he
Well,
was just being an ass. And I'm like, no, 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 dear. I am willing to bet 10 to 1 that what I said means one thing to us here in the States and something completely different over there. And sure enough, effectively what I had said is that the rapture was going to happen live online in front of everyone. And, and so he was, of course, playing that up in true Kapil fashion.
oh yeah. Well, that's the thing people have to understand about Kapil is he has quite the biting sense of humor,
Oh,
and I
yes.
know, and like I suspect a lot of people back when we were on Bloop, if they watched Kapil's and my interactions, but didn't realize that we were actually friends, probably thought we didn't like each other.
Oh,
And the
God.
reality was is we were just having fun picking at each other.
Mm-hmm.
It was all in
Oh,
good faith, it was all in good spirits and good jest. But I could see where someone else, not knowing our background, would look at it and go, "Oh my word, these two are just hate each other." And it's like, no, not at all.
that's like, and I know you do not take offense to this, but others could easily, the fact that I refer to you and one other very dear friend as my big fat gay witches. Exactly. Daniel, the other big fat gay witch, he was big fat gay Daniel because he was about your size. As the husband says, American social media, we are so mean to each other. But Daniel was about, actually, I think he's bigger than you are. And he became big fat gay Daniel because Derek had RSV when he was tiny. He spent my ex husband's and my first Valentine's Day in the hospital with RSV. We honestly did not know if he was going to survive.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was bad. And I don't remember who had a doctor's appointment, but Ash had to work, and one of the other two kids had a doctor's appointment, and we did not want to leave Derek in the hospital alone. So the only person I had at the time that I trusted to sit with him was Daniel. And so Daniel came to sit with him, and the hospital was having a blood drive. And I commented on it, and Daniel's like, yeah, too bad I can't donate. And I'm like, why can't you donate? Duh, gay? Oh, yeah, huh? He was so offended by the fact that I had forgotten he was gay because it was such an
Had you?
integral part of him.
But had
He,
you, or had you just forgotten the rules about men who have sex with men can't donate blood?
no, I had forgotten that he was gay.
Oh, okay,
It just,
fair enough.
he's just Daniel to me.
Okay,
And so, who he was dating or not dating at the time just didn't matter because that's just me. I don't care that much. But to him, it was, part of him.
right.
And so to prevent that from happening again, our social group started referring to him as Big Fat Gay Daniel, and he loved it. And then later on, I met you, and you are also a big fat gay witch like he was, so you just became one of the big fat gay witch friends.
Well, let me put it to you this way: I was in one friend's spouse's mind for the longest time. I was her gay witch friend. Where I'd call and say, I'd call and ask to talk to this friend, and if the husband would answer, he'd be like, "Who is this?" And I'd say, "It's Jared," and he's there like, who?" And I'm like, her gay witch friend. Oh, hi.
Yep. We all have those friends that the name doesn't stick, but there is some attribute that, yep,
Yep.
yep. Such as, I am at our coffee stand that we frequent all the time. They used to have a cell phone that you could text orders into for certain customers. Um, I used to be lactose intolerant before we went gluten free. So I would get almond milk. His ex-wife would get soy milk, and he got half and half. So we were in their phone as the crazy milk people. I'm getting messages from the hubby, and he's kind of half paying attention. And every now and again, something we say will get his attention, and he's what? I love him. So we should probably get down to business, huh?
Probably.
The closest people can joke around like this, yes. I'm assuming Safan Pring is one of your friends, because that is not a name I am familiar with.
If I know them, it's by a different name.
Okay.
Not someone I
Maybe it's
recognize.
one of
No
mine.
worries.
Who knows? Who knows? I'm happy.
I mean,
If you're
hello.
from-
Glad to see you're here.
If you're from the Discord I'm in, I'm Goddess of Death
Ah,
or Queen. So now you can see me.
I'm being told Kat looks so enthused. I have a feeling Kat is as tired as I am today.
Oh, allergies.
Oh God, allergies suck.
I had to brave Target with my grandmother.
Oh. And it's warm out.
Yes.
It's definitely spring in the Pacific Northwest. How is it over on the East Coast?
Honestly, I haven't gone outside today. I don't know. It's been pretty warm. Actually, no, I did step outside to somebody needed a Red Bull.
Yes.
So
yay.
Yes, so it's pretty warm. Nice
Cool.
and nice mild spring day. Nothing
Nice.
too much of a scorcher. Of course, we don't like anything above 55, 60 degrees anymore.
It was warm enough today that when I grabbed the steering wheel to go somewhere, I'm like, hot, hot, hot. And I had to stop at the local Kroger multi-store, department store, groceries and everything, to grab a Gatorade because my POTS was not happy. So yeah, it's one of those days. So, Jared and I are both witches. Kat is kind of on the fence. She's interested, but has not quite dipped her toes in yet. She's trying. She's getting there.
I'm just a baby.
Yep. So, Jared,
That's a
having
really good
grown
place
up,
to be in.
Yes, having grown up evangelical.
Yes.
How did your journey into witchcraft? How did that shape your life, and how did you find witchcraft, and what flavor of witchcraft did you find? And I'm listening, but I gotta let Took out.
Okay. Basically, as has already been mentioned, not only witch, I'm gay, and I came out as gay first. When I was a teenager, I realized I liked other guys, and of course, I was raised in a conservative evangelical space, where gays are really bad people, and and go to the nasty place, where they do horrible things to you and whatnot, for being gay or whatever else. So I tried to deny it, and I basically spent until my senior year in college trying to deny it, trying to change it. I went through what I would call self-directed conversion therapy, as in I never saw a professional therapist. I never went to one of the Exodus International conferences for ex-gays, but I did read a book, of how to come out of homosexuality and turn your life around and turn straight and everything. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. It doesn't work. There's a reason Exodus International closed its doors in 2013. And I could go into
they did.
Yeah, and I can go into a whole rant about the fact that here we are, and yet there are still people pushing conversion therapy in 2024, despite the fact that, it's been known for a long time, and even key people in the ex-gay industry have admitted it doesn't
work.
Anyways, that took me to a very dark place, and To put it bluntly, maybe I should have given a spoiler alert for this or content warning for this. I basically reached a crisis just before, actually, I'd say on April 1st, 1996. Yes, my coming out day is April Fool's Day.
I remember
That
seeing
was a
that when you
trip.
posted your
Own it.
tweet about that.
Um, but I realized that I had a choice. I could either continue to try to not deny the fact that I was gay and try to force myself to live a life I wasn't going to ever be happy with, or I could live.
Yeah.
And I mean that quite literally. So I chose life. I chose to come out. And then over the course of the next roughly 2.5 years after that, I tried to do the whole, oh well, I'll still stay Christian. I'll just accept that I'm gay and everything, and not try to change anything else. And in that process, I also started making more friends, and because I couldn't really feel like I could rely on my Christian friends at the time for support on emotional issues, especially because I was interested in pursuing romantic relationships, and that's just something that a lot of my Christian friends could not get on board with. So I need to find new friends. And the friends I found were a group. It was actually from my college campus. They were a group that provided computer support for other students on campus. But a lot of them happened to be atheists, agnostics, and pagans, mostly Wiccan. Um, Eric was one exception. We had one guy named Eric who was also a Christian. He was like their token Christian of the group, but he was a cool guy and everything and whatnot. But yeah, so I met them and I got talking to them, and I also met some other pagans and Wiccans and atheists and people from other backgrounds online, and started making friends online because I moved back to rural Pennsylvania after I graduated from college, and I graduated from college the same year I came out. So basically, I came out in April, graduated mid-May, and went back to rural Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Oh Lord.
So I relied
Oof.
a lot. Yeah, I relied a lot on trips back to my college town, where I went to college, and a lot on online friends. Then about 1998, a bunch of things happened. My first relationship ever fell apart. I lost a friendship, and I also started feeling things about guilt. I wasn't so guilty about being gay anymore, but there were other things. I always joke that at the time I was trying to be the Christian branch of the purity culture movement. It's like, yes, it's okay if your partner is gay, but it should still be one partner for life. That you're in a monogamous, committed relationship and you're gonna make it forever. And I failed at that, so I was feeling guilt about that.
Yep.
I was feeling guilt over the relationship because largely the dissolution of the relationship and the other friendship was largely because of things I did. In general, they were in an unhealthy relationship and unhealthy friendship, but I was a huge part of that. And I always like to make that clear, especially if either of them happen to run across this. I don't want them to think that I'm blaming them. They don't talk to me anymore. They have very good reasons not to talk to me.
Yep.
And if either of you listen to this, I love you and I hope you're having a great life. I'm staying out of it because that's what you indicated you wanted, and I still respect that. In fact, I probably respect that more than I did back then.
I understand how that goes.
Yeah. But yeah, so, and basically I realized that I was having another crisis, that my upbringing had left me in this state where I could not see myself as a decent and worthy person, worthy of love. The version of Christianity that I was raised in. And again, I'm being very specific with my wording here because I don't believe all versions of Christianity are that way. But the version I was raised in, God loved you in spite of yourself, not because of yourself.
Yes.
And I realized that if I was going to make it anywhere, I needed a change. And I wasn't quite ready to say, yes, I'm going to change religions. But at the same time, because I had so many friends who were Wiccan and pagan, I asked, one of my friends online who was from Georgia, I asked her, hey, can you recommend a book so I can learn more about what you believe? Because, I've heard a lot of stuff, but I'm starting to realize that, a lot of it's, bull crap that, someone who, was a Christian told me, and Yeah, it's like, and so she recommended, of course, Scott Cunningham's famous book, Wicca, a Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. I read that, and for the most part, I fell in love with it. And that's where I realized this is where
She's
I need
probably
to
grabbing
start
it.
headed.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am actually. Let's see. You mean this one? One of the first books that was put into my library.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's the newer cover too. So that's
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. I still
I've
have the
had to
one that's.
replace a number of my
Yep.
books.
Yep.
And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I still have the one that's like the purple cover, and I think there's a person on the front of it, and
yes, I had that
an
one too.
illustration with. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
That's the copy I still have. It's the only copy I've ever bought. I'd be hard
This
pressed
is,
to
I
find
think,
it
the
right
third
now.
copy of this one I've had.
Okay.
Because my first copy, my ex-husband has, and then another copy I loaned out and never got back. So yes, I
Um,
have a decent sized pagan library. The top shelf is my yoga books, and then the rest of it is all craft. And that's not counting
okay.
this library and this. But yeah, Scott
But
Cunningham is one of my favorites.
yeah, I really like him. I don't see eye to eye with him anymore. I've moved on from
Wicca.
that, but I do. He'll always have that soft spot just because it was through reading his book that my journey really got started.
Yes.
And I did. I went through a process. I explored a number of traditions. I explored, Wicca, is presented by people like Cunningham and Pat Telesco, and I can't think of some of the other names that were really big back then. Bear in mind this is in the late '90s, early 2000s.
Silver Raven.
Um,
So many of
yep.
us touched on her books, and I will not rant about her today. We will go off on a rant about her later.
Fair enough. Um, from there, I joined the Druid organization Arnrat Fane, whose initials are ADF, and that's why to me ADF will always be the Druid organization, not the Christian hate group that uses the same initials.
Yep.
From there, I got into Asatru with the Troth, and I really loved, and that's where I really found my home. That's where I met the Norse gods. I had already been doing runes, so I had known the runes, and that's actually who got me. Is one of my friends I was studying druidry with. Actually said it's like you're not really Celtic. You're enjoying the Irish myth, but I can tell that you have a passion for the Norse stuff. You really got to check out the Norse stuff and dig deeper into that. So I got
That's
into.
funny. I'm the opposite.
Okay.
I'm playing. Okay, I say playing, but I am learning the runes. But I am very much, well. I have a feeling Bridget is tapping me on the shoulder right now.
Okay. Bridget is
But
a
I
cool
have
goddess.
Celtic blood. I
Ah,
very
yes.
much have the Celtic
Same.
blood. So yeah, that's kind of amusing. So I personally, I know you are a follower of Freya. Freya?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes, Freya.
you and Feifei, another mutual friend of ours. They are also a follower of Freya.
Yep.
So
I was gonna be named Freya.
that's kind of cool.
Oh.
But my dad's like, let's do Catherine the Great.
We as a family, seriously, children, we as a family actually have some family friends. They own a store in the Tacoma area. His name is Thor, and many of us just refer to him as Papa Thor. And they are collectively referred to as the Vikings. The name of the store, and yes, I will happily push their store, is the Longship Trading Good, or Longship 2. And they're just
Okay.
they're really awesome people. So, I often think of them when people refer to Thor and Freya and the Nordic group.
Right.
My great aunt, she raised Norwegian fjords, and my mother always was like, "Can you just name one, with an actual Norwegian name and not cowboys, and not after cowboys. And then my aunt's like, no.
Viking Fest.
So, like Greta. Oh my god. Very, but because they were very pretty horses, so I grew up around Norwegian fords.
So theistic. What does being a theistic witch mean to you?
Okay, I use theistic to make it clear that I believe in deities. I do
Okay.
believe that deities are real. I do tend to be what's considered a hard polytheist, which means that I'm not one of these people that really believe in the whole all gods are one god and all goddesses are one goddess. I believe that if you're talking to for example, when I'm talking to the goddess Freya, I'm talking to a specific goddess named Freya who is different from, say, Hera or the Morrigan or any of the
Yep.
others. She's a very specific entity. It's important to me because a lot of my witchcraft is tied up in honoring my deities. The magic is I wouldn't say it's dependent on the deities. It's not the deities give me my magic, but the way I use my magic and the way is honoring the deities and showing a relationship and building a relationship with them. I also tend to see one of the things that I like to say, and I've seen other traditions that have a similar thing, including I've seen this come, similar ideas coming from the Jewish tradition that, I see myself as in cooperation with um, my deities to continue the creation process. I don't see the creation as a done deal, but we're still building the world, and I'm in cooperation with them to do that. And part of one of the tools I use to do that is my magic. And so yeah, that's my ideas. Is that my particular witchcraft does deal with honoring the gods, working with the gods. And building a relationship and even a dialogue with them about the kind of world that we're collectively trying to build.
I
What
like
I'm
that.
building, they're building, and what people in general are building. So
So you
that's
do not ascribe to the theory of Bob. Let me elaborate on the theory of Bob. This is one that, again, referring to my ex-husband, came up with. My ex-husband Ash. You may remember Ash because I was married to him when we were on Bloop. His thing was, it does not matter what name you call your deity by, they are all basically the same deity, just different faces, different aspects. So you may call your god Jesus, you call your god Buddha, you call yours Allah, you call yours Thor. They're all basically the same entity. He calls his Bob.
okay. Yeah, I don't really, I respect that view if other people hold it. It's not one that I personally hold to.
Yeah, I can see both sides of it.
Yeah.
To me, it's kind of um, I like the idea of the All Father and then the lesser deities. Kind of
Okay.
there is the basically Bob is the overseer, and then you have the different aspects who oversee the different things, such as you have Loki, who is the god of chaos, or Bridget, who has fire, and Hera, and the different pantheons who have their different gods of each thing. But that's kind of my thoughts. You have
Right.
the CEO, and then you have the managers of the different branches. There we go. That's the way to describe it.
Okay.
That's where I see things. So I that's the similarities there, because I like you, when I am talking to my deity, I am talking to a specific, not person, but aspect.
Well,
Go ahead.
I think one of the other things, and again, this is just my personal opinion, my approach to things. All due respect to anyone who takes things differently. I'm not here to get into which wars about whose theology is right and whose understanding of the deities is right and all of that. This is just mine. But from my perspective too, the uniqueness is important, and one of the problems
Hmm.
I see with they're all the same is that there gets to be this homogenization, and you lose some of that uniqueness, and you lose some of
Yes.
those subtle stories. It's like, I'm sorry, the myth of the goddess as recorded by Gerald Gardner and the myth of the descent of Inanna, yes, there are some very broad brush similarities.
We lost Cat. She'll be back.
Okay. um, but they also both each have their own individual story to tell,
Yes.
and it's in those details and those subtle differences, because that's the other thing is I'm very strong about myths and understanding meanings, and I believe myths can have multiple meanings too, by the way. For example, I have a couple of different readings of the Binding of Fenrir.
Ooh.
I have the one version that I have the one telling that I tell, which focuses on Tyr's sacrifice of his hand. He puts his hand in the wolf's mouth, and makes a promise he knows he's going to break, and he knows he's going to lose his hand,
Yep.
but because that's what's needed to save the world, he makes that sacrifice. And to
Yep.
me, that's a story expressing that sometimes seeking justice and doing the right thing does involve sacrifice.
Yes.
On the flip side, I have a different telling of that same myth, where I am a staunch believer that the Aesir, the Norse gods, did that poor doggy wrong.
Oh yeah.
What they did to him was not right.
Yep.
And I can hold both those understandings of myth in my mind at the same time.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's the kind of thing that I think that and that's the kind of thing that exploring those meanings of the myths kind of gets lost sometimes. When you just oh yeah, they're all the same, and and I have the same issue with comparative mythology. Not that I think that comparative mythology is totally worthless, but at some point you have to appreciate the uniqueness of each story, and each
Yep.
personality, and each portrayal.
I have my daily goddess, and
Okay.
this is a deck of cards, and with this deck of cards, it comes with a small book, but there's also a book on my Kindle.
Oh.
And the one thing that sucks is the Kindle does not have all of the goddesses that are on the cards. But the
Oh.
awesome thing about the cards is it covers multiple pantheons, such as
Mm.
Aditi is Hindu. She was today's goddess. Um, Ain, who is Gaelic. Allah, who is from Africa, Japanese. So, it covers, and then, the Roman. And so I love the fact that we go through the cards, and some days I will specifically pick a goddess, such as, 2nd of February, I very deliberately chose Bridget. Come on. But some days I will specifically pick a goddess. Other days I will just let the goddess pick me. And I discuss the different aspects of the goddess. And there are days such as Aphrodite, it will say she is the Roman or the Greek aspect of this, blah, blah. And you know, and as you said, if we say they are all the same, you lose that specificity, specificity, brain's not firing on all syllables, that goes with that story. And there is always something to be learned from that mythology. And so that's why I agree with
Absolutely.
you. We cannot just lump everybody in as being all the same.
Right. Now, on the flip
So,
side, when we
go ahead.
yeah, on the flip side, and this is where I show my Gemini nature and the fact that I have more double signs in my astral chart than any one person has the right to have. Just to give you an idea, my sun sign is Gemini, my moon sign is Pisces, and my rising sign is Libra.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah.
All
You're
three
just full of
major signs
conflict.
are a double sign, and there are other signs. I know. I actually told my friend Char, who used to run a shop here in Rochester, witch shop here in Rochester. I actually ran down all the signs in my chart, and she just looked at me and said, "Good grief, you're a party all by yourself."
I remember you talking about Shar. That is
Yeah.
I'm horrible with names, but that one actually rings a bell. I am actually Cap Rising Libra for both of the other two major,
Okay.
which apparently is not normal. It's not normal to have the same sign for two of the.
Yeah.
So, how do you balance your paganism with the other aspects of your life, such as your work and your relationships? You are a married man.
Yes. Fortunately, my husband is witchy himself, so
That
which
helps.
that that was a very surprise. It was just a happy surprise. I honestly I figured I was going to end up with a Christian, maybe an atheist, and when I met my husband Joe, and he turned out, yeah, I'm interested in that stuff too. I'm like, cool.
Fucking A,
So
man.
yeah,
Yes.
we were actually members of the same coven here. There was a small eclectic coven, which I actually helped found before I met
Nice.
Joe, years before I met Joe, and he ended up joining us. We did eventually leave it because we realized that our spiritual paths were, leading us in a different direction than what the coven really wanted to go in. And it was sad. I actually found out later that coven did eventually dissolve due to health issues of one of the remaining members, and
Oof.
yeah, so it was
That
kind of sad.
sucks.
It's always sad to see something that, you put your energy into and even helped found, disappear. But,
Yep.
um, of course, the other thing I found interesting is they actually, while I was a member, we didn't get a lot of interest from potential new members. We got someone interested every now and then. And it seemed like after Joe and I left, they exploded. They had all kinds of people interested. So in that sense,
Doesn't it figure?
in that sense, I honestly feel like, maybe, at least I might have been holding them back a little bit,
I
and
know
that
that
I need to
feeling.
leave so that they could become what they needed to become, even, it's like, so our paths were truly, truly diverging, and we both needed the separation, both them and us needed that separation so that we could, each follow our own paths and do what we need to do. So, but yeah, like I said, unfortunately it did eventually fade because, they
I'm
just
back.
couldn't. And welcome back, Kat. Yeah, so that was kind of, interesting. But yeah, so my husband is is at least interested. It's his deities have been a little bit quiet lately, so, and we're not sure why that is. I have a few guesses which I won't go into, but
That's your
you
story to
know
tell. Yep.
yep, exactly. But I do still personally have hope that, yeah, that may change someday. Once
Yep.
once once whatever telling, his deities, okay, we're gonna let you go for now. Once that all gets, settled to the point where they're like, okay, yeah, it's time for us to start talking to you again.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I have some suspicions. I know where things are going there, and yeah, because
yeah,
our conversations.
yeah, exactly.
I am blessed. My husband. Um, I am wife number two. Wife number one was very Christian, very Christian. Um, and then he met me.
Okay,
Oops. We have a ritual circle in the backyard.
nice.
Yes. And he is not one to do anything by halves.
Mm,
We have posts in at the four cardinal directions, and he put so much thought and energy and effort into it. If you kneel down and look over the north post, the north star is right there. I mean, he
oh wow.
it is
Yeah.
amazing. Before he laid the bricks under the circle, he put copper wire down. I mean, it is
Mm.
gorgeous. It is amazing. I love it. Um, he had never been exposed to any kind of witchiness prior to meeting me and my children. And he was intrigued.
Okay.
And shortly after the kids and I moved in, I needed to buy some supplies. And he had jokingly said, "Hey, if you were to ever buy a pentacle for me, I might wear it." And I believe it was Azure. It was either Azure Green or the Magical Cat. Oh, actually, I think it was the Magical Cat. They had a pentacle for like $1 on sale, and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Added it to the order. The order came in, and I'm like, "Hey, you!" And I tossed it at him, and he's like, "Oh, cool!" And he put it on in front of her. Oops. She never
Mm.
forgave me for that because she had been trying to get him to go to church with her for years, and he wouldn't because he just organized religion was not his thing.
Yeah.
And the more he learned about my religion and my spirituality, it more aligned with what he believed. His grandfather was, or someone in his family was native, had native blood, and had been teaching him some of that, and it had resonated with him, and he remembered that. And what I was bringing into the house kind of went along with what he remembered, and lo and behold, here we are. So I'm in a lot the same boat with you. I lucked into it.
Yeah.
And the husband before, his dad's Cherokee medicine man, tribal
Okay.
elder.
Okay.
So, I have been very lucky.
Definitely.
Yeah. Um, in your experience, and oh, do we both have some serious experience here? What misconceptions do you believe people often have about witchcraft, and how do you go about addressing them?
Oh, geez, where do I start?
Yeah, do you usually are you more often the type to go about addressing them with kid gloves or a clue by four?
Um, Honestly, anymore, I tend to ignore a lot of that. I mean, unless they're directing it directly at me. I'm not, I'm glad to share my knowledge. I'm glad to share my experience, but I do not anymore see it as my job to educate the world and set the record straight on every little thing. So I don't spend a lot of time doing it. Sometimes I'll be honest with you, I tend to more watch what's going on about within the pagan and witch community online.
Hmm.
Like for example, I don't know, did were you at all aware of the whole rumor about the witches of TikTok
Oh my
cursing?
god, are you reading my mind? I literally just thought
True.
about witch talk texting the moon.
Yeah.
That's where you were going, wasn't it?
I remember reading that, and it's really interesting because I appreciate that a associate that I know, I guess I'd say acquaintance I know her online. Her name is Frankie. She also goes by the name the Chaotic Witch Ant.
Oh my god, I was just watching her video about that the other day.
Yes. Okay. So you
She's
know
a
exactly what I'm
sweetheart.
talking about. Oh, absolutely.
She
And
veiled, she's got,
yeah,
yes. Yeah, I
yeah,
just within the last week subscribed to her YouTube.
yeah. And you
Yes.
said you actually watched her video about the
She
witches of
was
TikTok
talking
texting
about
the moon.
having participated in that whole debacle. Yes.
Yeah. Um, but I mentioned her because I left it on the comment because I appreciated her video because I remember when this all happened. I heard about I heard the rumors and it's like, why would anyone even do that? What's even the purpose? And
So,
Yeah.
and
for
and,
those
and
who, like me, don't know what's going on, can you do like a little summary?
Okay.
personally, so basically, this was 3 4 years ago now, maybe I
Right,
forgot how
right
long ago.
before the pandemic started.
Right. So 4 or 5 years ago then, because the pandemic started in 2020.
Yep,
Um,
this
so
was early 20, late 19, early 20, because
yeah,
AJ was still manager at Torrid.
yeah. So there was this rumor that went around that TikTokers, witch talk, TikTok, witches of TikTok, hexed the moon, and it and this rumor created this whole furor. I mean, just everybody got up in arms and yelling, "Oh, the gods are going to be so angry, and they're going to punish all of mankind." And
Mhm.
the pandemic was, it is relevant to this because, there were dire predictions that the gods were going
Yeah.
to make the pandemic even worse as
Yep,
punishment for these
yep,
witches,
yep.
cursing, hexing the moon and everything and whatnot. And I like it. Chaotic Witch Ant was actually all a part of that, and got in on the
It
whole,
was.
making a big fuss about this. And the thing I like about and I appreciate about is when Frankie did her video, like I think it was about a month ago she made that video. It hasn't
Something
been too
like
long
that.
ago.
I
Yeah,
literally just stumbled on it this week.
yeah. And basically she said, we really should have done our research, because this turns out this was all most likely a rumor with no
Yep,
substantiation.
Mhm.
They
yep.
can't find anyone. Well, there are a few people who have come forward and claimed that they were the ones that hexed the moon, but at this point it's like, okay, were you really, or are you just trying to, get the public attention now,
Get the
after
views,
you
get the
blew up?
clicks.
Yeah. And in fact, and Frankie goes into it, and I highly recommend, and maybe Di, you can include this in a
Yeah,
show note
actually,
somewhere, is
while
a
I'm
link
thinking
to
about it, I
Frankie's
may
video.
still have her video up on a tab.
Yeah. But
Let's
but
see.
yeah,
Mhm.
and everything, and basically, it was rumor, and of course, I think it was, it looks like the rumor might have been started by the witches of Reddit, but the witches of
Of course
TikTok
it
turns
was.
out,
It's
no,
my
it's the witches of
understanding the
Reddit that
witches of
did
Reddit
this.
were in on starting the rumor.
Yeah. And and so there was this point, no, it was you who did it, no, it was you who did it. And it's like, and as near as anyone can tell, it looks like nobody actually did it. Somebody just started a rumor, and it
Yep.
snowballed, and people lost their mind over it. And
Yeah. Oh, it was hilarious.
yeah, so
Um, I remember it. I was working at Torrid, and the manager at the time was also a witch, and I had not yet delved into witch talk yet. And they and I were talking about um witch talk, and AJ asked me if I had gotten into witch talk yet, and I straight up said no, I have not. And AJ's like, don't, just stay away from it, because they're now deciding that they're going to try to hex the moon. And I'm like, they're doing what? Oh yeah. And I'm just, they're, they, what, huh? Do they not realize that AJ, yeah. So
Sorry,
yes,
what comes to my mind is like, we are going to steal the moon.
yes, actually AJ and I made that joke too. Did you ever work with AJ, or did you come in after AJ left?
She came in for inventory.
That's right. So yeah, you can see AJ and I making that joke.
Mhm.
But yes, it did. Oh my word, it was something, I tell you. Okay, there we go. Oh, whoops, that was not where I wanted to put that. All right, but yes, it was just hilarious. It really was. I could not believe that somebody would just try to hex the moon. And then the rumor after they said they were hexing the moon was they were now going to try to hex the sun. And I'm
yeah,
going, seriously, people, you didn't learn the first time.
but,
So
but yeah,
this now segues into the next one. Um, as someone who is active on Twitter and Threads, how are you using Twitter and Threads to educate and connect with others who are interested in the craft? Or
I'm out.
also as a gay man and a gay witch, how are you connecting with other LGBTQ people?
To be honest with you, I'm still trying to figure that one out. I've actually been
I hear
trying to
you
figure out,
there.
okay, because part of it is my trying to figure out my voice and what I have to say, what I want to say, what I have to say, what people want to hear. Yeah, I will be honest, I struggle a little bit with the fact that I say a bunch of things and I don't get any responses, and whatnot, and yeah, I don't always know what to do about that. And I am someone who thrives on feedback. Um, it's I'm not someone who can just sit there and blab for an hour or two on my own. I've tried that. I tried my own podcast, years ago, and it didn't work for me. Just coming up with something to talk about, for 45 minutes to an hour, and I think I was only trying to do it like once a month even, and even that was just so difficult. I'm much better at this, the dialogue between people,
Yes.
and trying to find people that want to dialogue about the things I want to dialogue, because I'm not the kind of witch, and that and there seem to be a lot of such witches online that want to just trade spells, and and talk about what candle do you use for this and whatnot, and it's like that's not really where I am in my craft
I
at
don't
this
want to trade
point.
recipes. I just want to sit and, I want to gossip about goddesses.
Exactly. I want to, and I'm also, very interested in the theological side.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
actually, I'm actually considering writing a book someday. I realize that I need to do a little bit more studying of what other people have said about pagan theology, but pagan theology versus Christian theology. And because one of the other groups that I spend a lot of time with is deconstruction groups, people who are
Yep.
leaving, their religion. And of course, most people in deconstructing are leaving Christianity, and specifically, white evangelical Christianity. And
Yep.
I say white because there are some important differences between evangelical Christianity as, practiced by, majority white Christians, and then what's practiced in black churches that also consider themselves evangelical.
Holy
The
rollers.
biggest,
Yeah.
yeah, the biggest one being that black churches that are evangelical are all about liberation. They
Yes.
focus so much on liberation, and that's something that a lot of white evangelical churches don't really want to talk about. And well, that could have something to do with the fact that a lot of them were pro-slavery back in the 1800s,
Yep.
so and then they really weren't happy about that whole end to segregation, and
Yep.
so but these were topics that drove the black church, and was really, so I do like to make that distinction too.
Yep.
um but
Um, I referring back to some of our mutuals from Bloop. I'm trying to remember Shell's name on Bloop, but Shell and Mal.
okay,
Um, I think you knew Shell.
it's
Um,
entirely possible.
ah, oh, her name keeps zipping through my head, but it won't slow down enough for me to catch it. But Shell they are black.
Okay.
They were here in Seattle. I met them through Fei Fei, so
Okay.
that's why I'm pretty sure you know who they are.
Yeah, I seem to vaguely remember a connection there, so
Yeah. Um, they are also witchy types,
right.
and you talking about this brings Mal to mind, because Mal is one of those. How can you be black and Christian when the white man came and ripped you away from your homeland, drug you to this country, forced his religion on you, and Now you are still practicing that religion. How can you do that? When, this is an option for you. And, having heard Mal say that so many times, I'm like, she got a point. And it's one of those places where me being, pasty white girl, I can't really speak much to it myself, but I can say it really does make good sense.
I
Jikara,
I
Jicara is one of the names she has gone by online.
okay, that does ring a bell. That name does ring
That's
a bell.
Shell.
Yes. Okay. Um, yeah,
But yeah,
and I will say, I totally see Shell's point. Um, on the flip side, I am friends with Black Christians like Trey Ferguson, who has a wonderful book out called Theologizing Bigger.
okay.
And then Robert Monson, I believe is Robert's last name, who, and they're both Black men, and they are devout Christians and Christian theologians, no less. And it's like, so I see both of you, and it's like, okay, I'm a white guy, I'm staying out of this.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to take Shell's position, I respect that. You want to take Robert and Trey's position, I respect that too. I'm a white guy, I'm staying out of it.
Yes. But there's also Martin Luther King Jr., another
Oh,
very,
absolutely.
very famous. And Warren's going to kick my ass because I can't remember his name. He is currently the pastor of Martin Luther King's church, and he is a freaking congressman. I can see his face, but his name will not come to me. He's a skinny ass black guy. He's the freaking congressman.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Hold on.
Is he on MSNBC a lot?
Yes, he is.
Is it Al?
No, it's not Reverend Al. It's not Rev.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look. Okay, for some time, let's.
Warnock.
Okay, I've heard of Warnock. Yes.
Raphael Warnock.
Okay, I've heard the name. I couldn't place who he was, but
he is also a very devout Christian, and he's a good guy. So I can see where. Yes, and I grew up with my grandfather as an Episcopal priest, so I can see it. But again,
right.
I also grew up with, and this is my having come to paganism story part of it. My grandfather was a priest for over 50 years. My grandfather baptized only God knows how many children and adults, brought only God knows how many people to the church. And he was one who taught me that if you pray, hard enough and you live a good enough life, your prayers will be answered. When my mother was born, my grandfather was in an iron lung. He had polio.
Okay.
This was before he became a priest. My grandfather prayed for one thing for himself his entire life. Please, dear God, do not ever let me suffer in that kind of pain ever again. Now, refer back to he was a priest for over 50 years, lived a good, honest, he was an amazing man. I don't think the man had any enemies. He died in a morphine haze.
Oh, geez.
Because he died with prostate cancer that metastasized to his bones.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm thinking he was in a little bit more pain than he was when he was in an iron lung. What kind of God would do that?
Yeah.
And, the next person who looks at me and says God had a purpose for that, I will punch them in the face. Because what purpose? What lesson did he need to learn from that? So, that kind of sealed the deal for me fully turning my back to the Christian God and fully pursuing the pagan faith.
Yeah, and you see that's my thing. I don't have I don't have to, in my opinion at least, I don't have to struggle with the problem of evil, because to me the answer is very simple. My gods aren't all powerful. They don't control everything.
I just got
It's
warned about, not threatening violence. Oops.
yeah, but yeah, but
Let's see,
yeah,
what else? How do
I
you
think
incorporate
because for
mindfulness?
time, because I gotta go in like 20 minutes.
Yep.
Let's do one more question.
Okay, let's
so-
see. Oh, you know what? Let's wrap this up with this one then. What do you see as the future of paganism, witchcraft, and our spirituality, especially in the digital age?
That's a good question, and
Isn't it? I blame
um,
her. She's the one that came up with the questions.
yeah, I the one thing that I'm reminded of, and the one thing that I cling to, is something that I learned from, I forget what tradition they are, but one of the British traditional Wiccan elders I used to communicate with. They often like to say, "The craft will survive. The craft will survive. In all things, the craft will survive."
It has
And
this long.
yeah, and that's my take on it. That no matter what happens, the craft will be there. It will be here. Um, it may go underground for a while. It may be hard to find because there's all kinds of questionable information out there. I know I seem to recall reading indications that apparently there are books out there being written about witchcraft by people who aren't actually witches, and that's been uncovered. That none of the big names that but they're just books out there. Learn witchcraft. They're small books and everything. And it's like, and you find out it's like, yeah, this person was just paid to write the book. They don't really have any background, expertise, or experience in it. So you have things like that. You'll have some of the what in my opinion are the silly things on like TikTok. That will distract some
Yeah.
people. But I believe that there will always be that core of people that will always seek something deeper and more meaningful, and they will keep things alive
I tend
moving
to agree
forward.
with you.
Now, having said that, I'm also not too harsh on the people who get, sidetracked by the silly things, because that may be what they're looking for, and that's valid. It
The
goes back to this
fluffy
whole idea
bunnies?
that, pardon?
The fluffy bunnies?
Yeah, yeah. What's often referred to as the fluffy bunnies. It's like you know what? Let them do their thing. Let them do their thing if that's what makes them happy. Because I do strongly believe that everybody is deserving of their own happiness, and however they find that happiness and define that happiness, and they don't have to find happiness the same way I do. They don't have to find their fulfillment the same way that I do. And if they're happy with something that I kind of look and go, that's cute, but I don't see the point in it, more power to them. Let them do their thing. They're not hurting me. And I will say the one thing that I probably detest, beyond serious things like abuse and everything, the one thing that I detest is authoritarianism.
Oh God, yes.
When you start telling other people how they have to think, what they have to believe, what they have to do, I got a problem with that. And
Yes.
I don't want to become that which I detest. So that's my take. I know that the craft will survive. I'm sure that there will always be someone somewhere that is honoring Freya in some way. And that's all I'm dedicated to is I'm dedicated to Freya, and hopefully making sure that other people know about her and continue and and continue to honor her. And I am convinced that will happen no matter else what happens. And that's all I care about.
There's a reason this country has the freedom of religion.
Absolutely.
And, I am free to believe what I believe. You are free to believe what you believe. And I'm not going to cram my beliefs down your throat. You don't cram yours down mine. That's
Right.
my thoughts. And,
Yeah, there's a cute webcomic that keeps going around that I like that, it's 4 panels. The first panel is, my religion says I can't do this. And the response is, okay. Then the third panel is, my religion says you can't do this. And the response at that one is F you.
yep. Yeah, it's like, how is it? That's like you being on a diet saying I can't eat it.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Same
Yes.
principle.
Yep. And it's bullshit.
But you know what's surprising? Do you know what is surprising? A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, more than you would realize.
Well, I remember someone a while back on Quora, because I also do Quora a lot, asked, Jews, I just ate a bacon cheeseburger. How do you feel about it?
Did you enjoy it?
And one of my Jewish friends said, I could make a list of 1,000 things that I actually care about, and you eating a bacon cheeseburger would not show up on that list. Not even close. I could write another 1,000, and it still wouldn't show up on that list either. And that was the thing. It's like, my dietary restrictions are for me. You're not Jewish. You do you. You do you. But like I said, a lot of people don't, even people outside of these, religions that have such restrictions don't seem to understand that, well, and I'm sorry, it's because, not all religions are, authoritarian Christianity. There are religions that are like, here's how we do things. If you're not one of us, that's okay. You go do your own thing. And people don't understand that there are actually religions that take that attitude.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you're anti-abortion. Don't have an abortion. You don't like same-sex marriage. Okay, don't marry someone of the same gender as you. That doesn't mean I can't do those things.
Right.
That just means you personally cannot do those things. I love individual persons, people as a whole. So,
I
yeah.
get it.
I would love to sit down and talk with you again about the deconstructionism, because whereas
Sure.
my faith as a child was not, evangelical, I am still semi proud to claim the Episcopal Church as my religion when I have to claim a Christian church, because the Episcopal Church is one of the more progressive faiths. Hey,
Yes.
we were one of the first to have an out gay bishop.
Yep.
God did that create a hell of a lot of furor in the United States.
I was there watching as an outsider. I remember how, the global South wanted to kick out the Episcopal Church from the worldwide Anglican communion over that, and and how certain bishops, tried to, leave the Episcopal Church and steal the silver on the way out, and all the kerfluffles that cost. And I also remember the reporting on it about how much of that was motivated and planned by the IRD, which I forget what IRD stands for, but it's a conservative religious think tank that basically from the reports I saw, infiltrated the Episcopal Church just to create that schism, or at least help it along.
Yes. And the Episcopal Church also, back in the mid 80s, was the Oregon Diocese was one of the first dioceses to have a woman priest. Linda was one of my favorite people. She was sweet. She was amazing. I have no idea where she is today. I don't even know if she's still alive, because she was in her 30s, 40s when I was 5, 6, 7. But, I remember the scandal that was. So, I am rather proud of the Episcopal Church. So that's what I grew up in. But I know you, having grown up evangelical, I have a good friend from high school who grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. That poor man. He straight up says he grew up in a cult. My high school, you were either Mexican, Russian, or Mormon.
Mm,
Or Jehovah's Witness, apparently. Because, I mean,
yeah.
Justin was there too. So, religions fascinate me and always have.
Oh yeah.
And then, as you said, you tried to pray away the gay effectively.
Yep.
I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Manny MUA. That's his YouTube name. He's a makeup artist.
No, not
He
familiar with him.
is he is gay. He's based in San Diego, and I believe he also grew up. I'm trying to remember if he's Mormon or Catholic. Either way. When he first started realizing he was gay, he literally tried to pray away the gay.
Yeah.
And it took him and his family a while to come to terms with him being gay. And he really did try conversion therapy. So as you were talking about that, he came to mind. So, a lot of this, and being a member of the Rainbow Mafia myself, these are all things that are near and dear to my heart, and how it all plays into religion, or religion plays into it. And having been part of a polyamorous family,
Mm,
so much of this is just seeing how it all interweaves with the religion and the relationships and the sexuality and the gender. I have my soul sister who is trans, and all of this. And just seeing how it all just, you can't separate it. Especially for some
yeah.
people, because, okay, my sister, she is trans, she is pagan, she grew up Buddhist, and exactly, religion is fine until it's forced upon you. I loathe these parents who
Mine.
force their children to go to church.
Hi,
Yes.
Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing. She wanted me to go to church so that she can prove that she was poor so they can give her money. Yeah.
my mom's brother-in-law, his first time visiting my grandparents, he knew Grandpa was a priest. And they were asleep on the floor Sunday morning in like the living room or something. And my grandmother came in and kind of nudged him. Hey, we're on our way to go to church. You guys can sleep in if you want to, or you can go to church with us. And my uncle's like, I don't have to go. No, you can go if you want to. My uncle had been a part of a family where they went to church 3 days a week, twice on Sunday, and if you did not go, obviously you were going to hell.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Apparently that family's still like that, but so he expected
Mm,
this. But so many families, you can't separate any part of this from them, because it's
mm.
just such an integral part of them. So I would love to have you come back and discuss, more about religion and sexuality too. Not
I
just
would love to
witchcraft.
do that. I would love to do
Cool.
that. Sure.
Well, I am being told we need to wrap up because we're an hour past puppy dinner time.
Oh
They'll live, but they're bugging dad, so he's sending them in to
yeah.
harass mom. I'm the one that usually takes care of the puppies because he has long COVID, and it wears him
Oh.
out very much so.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
Oh. Yeah. I hear that's
And the
rough.
boys are both, the youngest is on vacation, went down to visit the cousins, and the oldest is at work. So it's just mom and dad today.
Okay.
Where's Derek?
Oops. He went to Eugene. I knew that was going to happen.
No,
Sorry.
My dad. Damn it. You could take me. I'm not working. I'm broke.
So I will see everyone later. For those of you watching, we have today's Thursday, tomorrow is Friday. guided meditation and or yoga nidra asana. Thank you, Kapil. Will be happening tomorrow at 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific time because I am in Seattle. Daily draw, 1:30 my time in the afternoon. We do 3 tarot cards, 3 oracle cards, 1 rune, a goddess, and then I have a namaste and a self-compassion action. And then we round out the day with a quote from Mr. Rogers. It's always a lot of fun. And then Vanna and another girlfriend are usually in the comments, throwing shit at me. Lots of geeky references. This week we've had Monty Python and the Holy Grail references, regularly Doctor Who references, Harry Potter references, although those are usually kept to a minimum because Joe Rowling can go die in a fire. So yeah. Oh no, it's not a food bowl. Their dinner is they get wet food on a plate, and the one who is likely to bring the plate is the little guy. And yeah. He's doing better. But he will pick up his plate and carry it and dump food. It's hilarious.
He can't because he has the cone.
No, he's out of the cone.
Oh yay!
Yes, he's out of the cone, so he's doing much better, and he got rid of the drain.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta scroll down. I caught your name, but now I can't remember your name. But come catch the daily draw tomorrow. I am a big geek, and the puppies pop in, the cattle pop in, and stand on the desk in front of me and demand attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I will see you guys later. I will talk to you, Kat and Jared, later on Messenger because you guys will never get rid of me. I love you both, and have a good night.
Yep, you too.
Bye, guys.